Hi everyone. We're going to be doing chair yoga today, so we're going to need this chair. The chair should be one that you can put your feet down flat on the floor, and I think we're good with that. So with chair yoga, it's going to be a little bit less intense because we have the support of a chair. It is a prop, but we're going to be using the prop not as a way to kind of take it easy and to get out of like doing certain things. We're more looking at a chair as a way to enhance other aspects and focus on things we wouldn't usually have the opportunity to focus on because we're focused on something else. So we're going to be really focusing on those tiny details that we normally wouldn't recognize, like our toes or our fingers, just little things like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off in our chair. You can go ahead and sit back. There's no need to sit up straight right now. You can relax. And you can choose what you want to do with your hands. You can do like a mudra, where you can like press your hands together or your thumbs together, or you can just place them on your lap. However you want to place your hands is completely fine. But the important thing is that you're taking time off right now to start to notice things. It's quite simple, only one thing, one task on your mind, and that is simply just to be aware. Nothing else should be really bothering you right now. And go ahead and gently open your eyes, and we'll begin our practice. So we're going to go ahead and scoot forward a little bit towards the seat of our chair. Doesn't have to be like the tip, it's just a place where you can comfortably place your feet flat on the floor without really struggling too much. And so throughout this practice, when we are sitting on the chair, we're going to try to maintain really pushing into that chair, using like our active mind to tell ourselves to push into the chair with our sit bones. And that's just really going to help us sit up nice and tall, elongating our spine. So see if you can just push into the chair and extend your spine up. And from there, we're going to go ahead and go into gate pose, just to open up everything, energize, like our usual kind of warm-up. So you may need to come a little bit more forward. We're going to go ahead and extend out the right leg here out to the side, and the left leg is going to stay like we had it before. And then let's go ahead and inhale our hands up. Exhaling, we're going to go ahead and lean over towards that right side. Go ahead and place your hand somewhere along that leg. And so while we're here, see if you can really use those muscles in your quad, tightening those muscles in your calf, using everything in your right leg. And we're pushing those right toes into the floor. Don't forget about those toes, especially that pinky toe. I know it wants to kind of come up. We're going to see if we can push it down onto the floor. And then we'll come all the way back up, inhaling, exhaling, we'll release, and let's go ahead and change these sides. We're going to extend out the left leg now. And so once again, we'll inhale, bringing our hands up into the air. Exhaling, we're going to tip over, finding our left leg with our left arm, making sure we're not playing on that knee just because it will bring pressure to that joint that we don't want. And so as you're opening this entire right side, see if you can breathe and bring your breath there so it can freely flow. One more breath here. And then inhaling, we'll come all the way back up to neutral. We'll release our hands. Let's go ahead and bring that leg back to center, and then we'll scoot just a little back. We're gonna go into cat and camel here, and because we're in a chair, we're really able to isolate our spine only. We're just focusing on our spine. We really don't have to pay attention too much to the legs here. So go ahead and place your hands on your lap, and we're going to really shift our attention to our spine. The only thing you're really focusing on is that spine. So let's go ahead and close our eyes, and we're gonna go into cat. So we're gonna start that process of rounding our back. You can drop your head. Your chin will start to come closer and closer to your chest. And then inhaling, let's go ahead and push and bring ourselves all the way into the opposite, cow. Opening up that chest. You can close your eyes here if that feels right. Just opening yourself up for the world in front of you. And then let's go ahead and find our neutral, grounding ourselves through that neutral. Rolling those shoulders back so they're not too close to our ears. Go ahead and take one more deep breath here. And then we'll release. So we have kind of warmed up our upper body as much as, or however much. We're gonna go ahead and start to warm up our lower body while still sitting in the chair. So go ahead and move that block out of the way. And I'm gonna ask you guys to sit a little bit further back, and then we're gonna bring our hands to the sides of the chair. And so our feet are still gonna be able to be planted flat on the floor, just we're a little bit further back in the seat of our chair. So first what we're going to do is we're just going to press the left foot into the floor as much as we can, and then we're going to float the right leg off the floor. So right now I'm in dorsal flexion, which means that my toes are trying to pull back towards my body, and that's going to really help me activate my quads here. So really tightening, energizing those quads. Hands are supported here. We're going to roll back those shoulders. We're not hunching over. Perfect. Keep breathing. We're not going to hold it for too long. All right, and then we're just going to point our toes and hold it here for just a breath or two, and that's going to activate that calf. We're just energizing this entire leg here. We're in plantar flexion. Toes are pointing towards the front of the room. One more breath here. And we'll bring that leg down. Go ahead and notice the difference between the right side and the left side. Maybe there's heat. Maybe you're feeling hot in that right leg. Energy. Whatever it is, just being aware. And then let's go ahead and do our left side. Same thing. We're going to start off by pushing into the floor with the right leg, just so the left foot and left leg becomes a lot lighter and we're able to float it off the ground. We're going to start off in dorsal flexion with the toes pulling back towards our body. And really pushing into the chair with our sit bones is going to make this a lot easier. Great, great. Keep taking in deep breaths. Try not to hold your breath. And then we'll go into plantar flexion, pointing those toes. Activating that calf. Taking one more deep breath here. And then we'll bring all the way down. All right, so one last thing to just get these the lower body a little bit more energized. We're just going to go into half wind pose, just taking the right leg into our chest with our hands. So you can grasp around your shin or your thigh, whatever is comfortable. We're bringing that knee into our chest, but we're not rounding. So see if you can be cautious of that. And then inhale and exhale. We're gonna push that leg back into the floor. And then inhaling, let's go ahead and take the left leg into our chest. And then we'll inhale once again, exhaling, pushing that leg back down. We'll move on. Okay, so we're gonna start to use the chair more as a prop, as in we're not gonna be really too dependent on it. On the right side, and then we will go into 2 poses on the left side. So we are gonna start off doing triangle pose. We've done this many times, except this time we're gonna use the support of our chair here. So we'll do our regular process of standing in Tadasana and bending our legs, taking one leg out at a time, except my right leg is actually gonna go under the chair. And so that's just going to give me more accessibility to the chair if the right leg is tucked underneath the chair. And from there, I'm going to turn my body, my torso, and I'm gonna tip, and I'm gonna use the using the chair as support instead of a block. So that's going to make it a lot less intense, but that will give you a little bit more access to focusing on other things. So we're gonna really focus on the hip this time in this pose with the chair. So what we're gonna try to do is really pull this hip back. I don't want the hip to kind of come facing the wall in front. We're gonna pull this hip back. Usually it's a lot tougher because we're a lot lower on the floor or closer to the floor, but because we're up here, we're able to kind of focus on where that hip is. So I'm gonna pretend like someone is pulling my hip here from the side as if there was a rope pulling me, but I'm still extending and twisting. So with this pose, there's a lot of opposites. I'm pulling myself in one direction, but I'm also pulling myself in another direction. So having this chair kind of makes it a little bit more easier to focus on those things. So I'll kind of remind you about that later, but the next pose after that will be a half moon pose. So we're going to go ahead and from here, we're going to kind of bend our leg here. We may need to scoot it back a little bit just so we can come off that left leg, extend that left leg up and twist ourselves and go into half moon pose with the support of our chair. And so because we have a little bit more support, we're gonna focus on our toes with this pose. So sometimes we kind of forget about the toes. We're kind of so caught up in balancing, we forget about where our toes are pointing. But we're gonna focus on pointing those toes in the direction of the right wall. So that was a lot of talking. I'll remind you guys when we go, we're in the pose, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll go into triangle pose first. So have that chair on the right side of your mat. The seat of the chair is closest to you. We'll start in Tadasana. And we're gonna do both poses on the right side first. So inhaling in Tadasana, finding your center. Exhaling, we're gonna bend our knees and we'll take one leg out at a time. Hands can come on our hips and we are going to twist the right foot so that the right foot is pointing towards the right side of the room and our foot is under the chair. All right, so from there, let's go ahead and tip from our hips and find the chair, placing our hand firmly on that chair. And then before we even extend that arm up, we're gonna pretend like someone is pulling our right hip behind us. So I know it's a little hard to do, but we're gonna imagine that rope pulling our right hip towards the left side of the room. And once you've kind of imagined that, you can go ahead and start that twist, keeping your hips where they are, but twisting your torso back towards the front of the room. All right, great. So keep breathing, keep extending from one arm to the other. And then we're going to go ahead and transition into half moon pose. So go ahead, bring that left hand back to your hip. And we're going to scoot the right leg a little bit back, right foot. And then we'll shift the weight onto our right leg so the left leg can float up off the floor. And once you begin that twist back towards the front of the room, you can extend that arm all the way up. Remember, that standing foot's toes are pointing towards the right side of the room. See if you can adjust that. Stay here for about one more breath. And then bending that standing leg to come all the way up. So taking a deep breath here. And then let's go ahead and change. Adjust our prop here, moving it to the left side of the room, left side of the mat. And we will do our left side. So we'll start off going into triangle pose, starting in Tadasana, inhaling, and then exhaling. We're going to bend those knees. We'll take one foot out at a time. Hands can come on our hips. We'll rotate the left foot 90 degrees, back leg just a tad, and we'll tip, find that chair for support. And we're gonna do that same thing with our hips. We're gonna pretend like someone is pulling a rope that is attached to our left hip, and they're pulling it towards the right wall. So your hips are gonna kind of move in a backward direction. And then we'll inhale and twist the torso towards the front of the room, so it's squared off to the front, and that's going to allow you to take that right arm up and into the air. And then we're going to bring that right arm down onto our hip, and we'll transition into Ardha Chandrasana. So go to move the left foot back a little bit, and then we'll tip ourselves a little bit forward so that our weight is on the left leg, and the right leg can start to float up, and twist, twist, twist to extend the right arm up. Great. And once you've found your balance, see if you can notice, just be aware of where those toes are pointing. And I'm talking about the standing toes. If you have the courage to fix those toes, see if you can get them to point towards the left side of the room, if they're not already. One more breath here. all the way back down. And release. Alright. So we're gonna go ahead and come back onto our chair now. That was really the only pose we were gonna do, standing. So go ahead and place your chair in a position that it can stay for the rest of the evening. And we'll sit ourselves down nice and easy, no rush. We'll take a few breaths here just to relax. All right, so we're gonna do one more standing pose that we're gonna do in our chair, and then we'll start our kind of winding down. So this one is Warrior One, and I think we can do this together. It's quite simple. We're going to start that same way we did extended side angle pose. We're going to take this right leg out to the side, and then we'll scoot ourselves back, and then we're going to extend out the left leg. So the only difference now kind of is, instead of squaring ourselves this way, we're going to continue facing the right side of the room. And so if it's getting uncomfortable to keep this leg on the floor, I know in regular Warrior One we are like this, but in this chair position it can kind of get uncomfortable. So it's completely fine to take that heel off the floor so that it's just your toe on the floor. And so we're basically here already in Warrior One. All we have to do is inhale and take those hands up, and just continuing to expand our chest. But remember, we're not going to overarch that spine. Looking good. Keep breathing, keeping that back leg nice and long and extended. It's energized. The quad is working. One more breath here. And then we'll release. And we'll go ahead and change sides. So go ahead and adjust yourself. We're going to start off taking that left leg out to the side, and then we'll extend the right leg out. We'll face the left side of the room, and then extending those arms up as we inhale. And so try to focus really a lot on that back leg. Just because we're on the left side doesn't mean we should stop thinking about that right leg. Energizing the quad, pushing those toes into the floor. One more breath here. And then releasing. And coming back to a neutral position. And we'll bring our hands to our chest. We'll bow our head. Namaste. Thank you.